Tonight we are talking to Becky Tzag, a contemporary romance author from Ontario, Canada, known for her signature hot Hallmark style. Becky writes stories with grown-up characters, found families, and a focus on love that feels both fun and real. She's passionate about creating low-angst romances that readers can trust to bring comfort, connection, and happily ever afters. With the fifth and final book in her Just Love series releasing, 2 days?
Yeah,
She,
Thursday.
she's joining us to talk about her writing journey, self-publishing insights, and why it's never too late to chase your creative path. So welcome, Becky.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to have you here. So I guess my first question for you is just, did you want to tell us a little bit about yourself as a general Becky Tzag? Who is Becky Tzag?
I think I'm a pretty boring person, to be honest. I'm nothing special. I'm just a regular person. I have 3 kids. I have a wonderful husband, 2 cats. I'm just a regular person. Nothing super fun about me until I started writing. Like, that's what it kind of feels like.
It just like takes you out of that boring 9 to 5 and gives you something like exciting to tell people.
Yeah, it's like a completely different life, really, right? Like it's like I have my regular boring mom life, and then I have this other kind of like split life of being this romance author who's a
Right?
totally different person sometimes.
Oh, especially when you get into the characters, right?
Right? Exactly. They do kind of take over.
Oh, I love it. And what does a typical writing day look like for you, or is there no such thing as a as typical in your process?
I think because I'm such a pantser, like I don't really write. I think most of us really are. I don't plot. I don't come up with this whole big like idea. Like I have a general sense of what I'm going to write, but I don't plan it out really that well.
Mhm.
So if I'm not feeling up to writing that day, I don't write. If I like have this burst of creative energy, then it's like all day. Like get the kids to school and then it's writing all day and I do the thing you're not supposed to do and I sit on the couch to write. I don't have an office. And I just it's right all day and I forget to eat. I'm that person. I'll just forget to eat and then wonder why I'm hungry at 3:30, right? Like and then other times I'll kind of go days without really writing anything, or I'll get like, 20 words in and be like, well, that's it for today. Close the laptop.
And
So I guess there
are,
really just isn't a routine. Like there's no regular. It's when the words come. And like because I'm a pantser, and I kind of get the feeling maybe you are, why
I
you're
sure
like
am.
cheering. Like it's whenever the characters speak to you. It's like you don't this sounds nuts unless you're an author. Like the characters tell me what to write and when they're ready to say things and when they're ready to do things. And if they're not ready, then I'm not ready.
Yeah,
So
you
that's
can't
my
force
typical
it.
day. It's
Yeah.
whatever the characters say.
Whatever the voices in my head tell me to do, that's what I do.
Yeah, the totally sane answer is
I know, and when you say it out loud, you're like, wow, I sound insane. But I
I
totally
know,
get it. I
right?
totally get it. And that's another reason why I love these author interviews because it's like you're not alone. We all have
Like
these
you
little
do the
voices.
same thing. You have voices in your head too, and you don't know.
Yeah.
It's like people will ask me, like, well, what's gonna happen in your book next? I'm like, don't know. They haven't told me yet. And then you're just writing. You're like, what do you mean you're saying this? Like, oh, that sounds nuts, but okay, if you say so.
I totally get this. I love it so much when the characters just take over everything.
Yeah, and then you're actually surprised by what they're saying. You're
Yeah.
like, I understand I should know what's going on. Like, I should know what my characters are saying and thinking and feeling, but you're flabbergasted. You're like, you did what?
I
Why are you
know.
going there?
That's
You're not supposed to be doing that.
Yeah, that's totally happened to me. It's like it's my brain. It's coming from my brain. How is this so like
Yet,
strange?
it's not. Yeah. It should be coming from your brain, but it's really your characters are in there
Yeah.
telling you what they want to say.
Yeah. And it's amazing how like a new character will just pop into your head and you're like, "Oh, hello. Who are
Yeah.
you?"
You're like, yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. And you're like,
Yeah.
who are you?
Let's
What
find
kind of
out.
things do you like? Okay, I can work with this.
Yeah. And so are you okay? Well, we kind of already talked about this then. The next question was, do you write every day, or is it more like creative bursts? And you totally answered that question and
Yeah.
literally said creative bursts. I'm pretty sure. So next question, what has self-publishing taught you that you wish you knew at the very start?
That it's hard.
Yeah, because
Like,
it's so
I
so much.
think there is, and you do everything.
Hmm.
And that's the thing. And that's one of those things like you think you understand. You're like, okay, I'll self-publish this, which means that like I have to do all the
Wow,
legwork.
you're truly
But you
amazing.
don't realize
Thank you
how
so
much that
much for the
is.
follow.
Like you don't realize what it's like. Not even writing all of it, but like reading through all of it, finding your own beta readers, finding your ARC readers, finding your editors, and then actually doing all the formatting and the admin stuff
Yeah.
and all the marketing. So much marketing. And like I think when I first started, to be honest, when I first started, I just did it for me. I really didn't intend on like really putting it out there.
Hmm.
I was like, okay, I will write this book for me. I'll have a copy on my shelf. My husband will probably get his own copy and my sister. Like that
Yeah.
was the plan. And then all of a sudden, like other people read it and other people liked it. And then I was like, well, I'll write another book. And then before you know it, I have now 5 books.
Yeah.
And so at the beginning, I was like, okay, we'll do this easily and quietly, like no big deal. And I wasn't prepared for how much it would take out of me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I didn't realize how hard it was going to be. It's great, it's rewarding, it's amazing, but it's so hard. And I
Yeah.
feel like at first I really underestimated how crucial having like an author community was going to be. I was like, because you hear like, the advice, find author friends. You're like, I don't know these people. Why do I want to tell them all about me?
Yeah.
Like, I don't need them. That's fine. I'll
Also,
just
I'm an
sit on my couch, write
introvert.
little
Like, I don't
stories.
wanna.
Right? Exactly. I'm like, I don't want a people. But once I got into it, by the time I was writing like the ready to publish the second book, I was like, okay, I need friends. Like this is, you know what, this is hard and this is lonely. Like to be honest, writing is a lonely thing
Hmm.
because especially when you're self-publishing, it's all on you.
Yeah.
So finding that key like core group of authors that you can like talk things out with and commiserate and just know that you can kind of like pop into the chat and be like, okay, I need help, or this happened, or right? Like, and having those people really is so important. And sometimes it's hard to make friends, especially when I think honestly, like 80% of my author friends, probably more, are introverts,
Yeah.
right? And they're like, and also people pleasers. And like, so it's hard to kind of be like, hey, you want to be my friend? Like,
Yeah.
that's hard. But I think because we're all in the same boat, sliding into somebody's DMs, be like, hey, I want to do you have any advice? Or can I ask you a question? And just opening that conversation, then before you know it, you're best friends.
Or
Like,
or do you want to do an author interview? Hi, I'm Christy, by the way.
but like the thing is, like, it really is that easy,
Yeah.
right? Like, because I didn't know you existed until
Yeah.
you were like, hi, want to do an interview? I was like, sure. Normal Becky would be like, no.
Yeah.
But author Becky would be like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so like, yeah. So I guess like going back to the original question, like the thing that I kind of wish I knew at the beginning was you really do need a good group of author friends that, and if they write similarly to you, it doesn't have to be this exact same, but it does help because you can just talk about things that you need like specific help with. I think that's really important, and that you're doing it all. Like as an
Yeah.
indie author, you're doing, and it doesn't stop. The
No.
marketing and on social media, it doesn't stop.
The
You
social
might
media
think
is
you're
a killer.
done. Mm,
Yeah.
it is. Yeah. Canva Pro, like one of the best things I ever
Uh,
bought.
I'm like, do I click the button to like get it? I'm not ready yet.
Honestly, the answer is yes. The answer is yes.
I know. I used Canva Pro on another account the other day. I'm like, wow, I made this thing really quickly, and
Yeah.
yeah, maybe I should.
Right? Like it really is. a time saver, and it's one of those things that like you're like, I don't need this. And then once you get it, you're like, oh, I can never go back now. This is
Oh,
how they get you.
that's what I'm afraid of. That's what I'm afraid of. Um,
Yeah.
Cypher Robin says, popped in at the right time. I'll probably have to self-publish late fall winter, though I'm hoping to nail a query letter and find a publisher or agent. Good luck.
Yes.
I don't know about you, Becky, but I didn't even try to query or anything like that.
I think when I first started, like I think I was working on my second book, and I was like, I like someone, I don't remember who now, had open calls. You didn't need to be agented, just open, send your manuscript in. And I did it. And of course, it didn't work out. But after even just going through that at that early of a stage, I was like, and not doing that anymore. Like it's, I don't know, something about it just takes a lot out of you. But I think because I do have some friends that have been picked up trad, and I'm so beyond excited for them. I think for most people, if you are serious about going trad, the first step would be to query an agent over querying a direct, like publisher direct.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause they'll actually be able to help you out, kind of thing, as opposed to doing it all yourself, because there's a lot to do and there's a lot of jargon
Yeah.
and it's a hard process.
Yeah.
Whereas,
I'm on Twitter and I've like watched Twitter for years, the authors that are like trying to query and they post
mhm.
their I don't know if you've seen the rejection letter. It's called rejection poetry and you basically black out everything but keep certain words.
Yeah, I
It
haven't
became
seen
like this
that.
whole game of like making it sound like amazing or making it sound awful just by like blacking out certain words. But it got to a point where it's like a lot of people are just posting these rejections and you don't really see anybody getting like sending good news on Twitter and it's very
Yeah,
disheartening. I'm not even trying and I'm like this doesn't sound like a good time. And I
yeah,
mean, I know we're going to talk about starting writing later in life, I'm kind of in that boat too, and I don't really feel like wasting my time getting rejection letters.
yeah.
So,
I am too fragile of a baby
yeah,
to put myself, and I know myself. I know that if I were to like seriously try and get rejection after rejection after rejection, I don't think I would continue. Like
just
being honest,
yeah,
I
just
don't think I would. And now that I kind of have this self-publishing thing kind of sort of figured out, I'm pretty comfortable here. Like, would I like to be picked up and go try it and like hit it big? Absolutely.
right.
But like I want it to just happen to me. I don't
I just
I
want it
don't
to
want to
fall
like,
into my lap.
right? Like if an agent were to just be like, "Hey, I want to like,
Represent
support
you.
you and I want to cover
Yeah,
you and I want to whatever." And like, "Hey, I have this publishing house that I know is interested and here you go. Here's millions of dollars." Like
yeah.
if that could just happen, that'd be
Take my
great.
money. That's all we want is for someone to come to us and say, "Take my money."
Right? Because
Yeah,
like I know that it would probably break me.
yeah,
Like if I'm honest.
yeah,
And I don't want that.
yeah.
And like now that I am on my fifth book and I kind of have a much better idea of what I'm doing compared to the first book, and I have my author friends and I'm kind of feeling good, I'm happy with my situation. Like
Yeah,
I don't have millions of followers, not making millions of dollars,
yeah,
but like I feel comfortable with my small little following and like, my readers that truly love my books.
right.
So
And
for right now, I'm happy.
And TJ Henry asks, how difficult was it to do self publishing at first? I guess your first book. How difficult was it for you?
Well, there's two answers. One is that it's not difficult. One is that it's very difficult because the actual process is not difficult. Like once you kind of figure out how to format a book and how to upload it on Amazon, like Amazon truly makes it super easy to put a book out. They really, really do. And the hardest part of that is figuring out how to do all the behind the scenes stuff, how to format a book. Like honestly, that was horrible. Once I like because now I have Atticus, and a lot of people use Vellum. I use Atticus. before I had Atticus, I was trying to format in Word. That's really, really hard to do. And I wanted to throw my computer out the window. But then once I figured out how to make a proper ebook, how to format for a paperback, what programs to use, it was easy. The steps are easy. But also, and again, I know I've said this before, but like the doing it all yourself is hard. Like, and it's all on you. So if you make a mistake, it's you made the mistake and you have to figure out how to go and correct it. And if something goes wrong or whatever, it's on you. So on one hand, it's really easy, like the actual step by step, easy. The doing it was really hard at first.
Right.
Because I didn't know what I was doing, like
Right.
quite honestly. But then I think that's where having really good author friends who've already done it comes in, because then you can kind of slide into the group chat and be like, hey guys, how do I do this? And then they immediately just kind of pop in like, oh, here, do this, this, this. I'm like, oh, but this isn't working. And they're like, oh, try this. Beautiful. Done.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, I was talking to JC Hannigan
Yep.
last week about how she formats an ebook, because I have been struggling to find something, and she suggested those two. She said she uses
Yep.
Vellum, but she also suggested Atticus, and I'm like, oh great, now I have to do homework. Thank you.
If you have Mac,
Mm-hmm.
if you have a Mac, go for Vellum.
Yeah.
I don't have a Mac. We are a Windows and a Google family. I don't do Apple products. So I have to have Atticus because Vellum is just Mac. But it makes it so easy because you literally just click a button and say, I want my book to be this size. Done. Like it just formats it all completely
And so
by
does it
itself.
format your book for KDP, or does it format for like for paperback and ebook, or just
Yeah,
ebook?
so I can't speak to Vellum, but I can speak to Atticus.
Mm-hmm.
So you can download two different versions. You can download the EPUB, which is what you use for your ebook on Kindle, and then you download a PDF that's formatted to look like a paperback.
Right.
So it's two separate files. So when you upload it onto, say, Amazon, you do the ebook separately, and then you do the paperback
Yeah.
separately. And
And
it's
that's
just,
the issue I was having with my first book, is I could not get it to format properly for an ebook. So currently it's only paperback, but eventually it'll come
and
in
then
ebook.
and it's one of those things, like once you figure it out, it's
Yeah.
super easy.
Yeah.
But it's the initial figuring it out that is
Exactly.
tricky
I mean,
sometimes.
I'm on the verge of book two, so I'm still
Mhm.
like a baby in the in the self
Yeah.
publishing world. So, yeah, I appreciate that feedback, and now I'm gonna go and get Atticus. We just got a raid, so we got two viewers added
Hi.
onto our chat. So thank you, Fellowship of the Tables, for the raid. I don't have like big music or anything right now, but yes, welcome everybody. We are doing an author interview with Becky Tzag.
Hello.
Spicy fruit salad says there are like Mac in the cloud kind of options that you can do. So you could run Vellum on a Windows, but it's an extra expense. But I've
Mhm.
heard it's a legit option if you really wanted Vellum. There you go. And I've heard
And
that
then,
too.
however, I will, because we were talking about this in one of my group chats actually. That is an option, but then there's also the um, possible issue of licensing,
Mm.
like because you didn't actually buy Vellum, technically you don't really own it. So it's kind of like, and it's kind
Hmm.
of there. So it like that you could run into issues with that. So I know a lot of people have discussed using that before, and then most kind of opt not to.
Interesting.
But it is an option that people do use.
Yeah. And Cypher Robinson said, and I mean, I can answer this myself too, but do either of you hire an editor? I worry as a reader that too many self published authors bypass an editor, which might saturate the system and make it harder to get seen on a self published route. And we talked about this with JC Hannigan last week, where it's like, if you're going to skip any step in being a self published author, it's not the editor part. Like,
And
we,
and it's really sad because there are so many amazing indie authors, and just like anything, there are some that missed that step, and they definitely needed the editor. And it's a few bad apples spoil the whole bunch. So there is like this kind of idea that a lot of indies aren't as good as trad. And maybe you read one indie book and it was full of errors. Or some people are also harder on indies than they would be on trad.
Yeah.
But if you do open like a trad book, you're probably going to find a typo,
Yeah.
right? So like, and that is something to keep in mind. So like, I know that when I read a trad book and I find that typo, it's validating
You're
for
like,
me
haha.
because guaranteed. So unfortunately, I did have an ARC reader, and I just got my author copies of my fifth book, like just arrived in the mail. And then one of my ARC readers like, "Hey, I found a typo." I'm like, "Darn, they've already been printed." So it's gonna be out there for probably the first few books. Is that it's going to say like like the something worn off is supposed to be WORN, and it says WARN, and
Aw.
that happens.
Well, I mean, if it makes you feel any better, my book that I just published in March had a typo on the cover, like on the spine.
And
And
the
I
thing,
only
and
noticed it
I
two
like to
weeks
think,
later
yeah.
when I had handed two books over to an old coworker of mine, and we were sitting chatting, having coffee, and I just suddenly looked down and saw it, and I'm like, oh my god. Oh my god, oh my
Yeah,
god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. I'm like, how many of those did I order? Was it 35 or 50? I'm just
I
like,
know. And with the fourth book, I noticed like a good solid month after my book had been out that acknowledgments in the back, like my acknowledgments, it was acknowledgments, like there was no N. It wasn't
mm.
KN, it was just K. And I was like, oh, acknowledgments, that's not a thing. And how many people saw this? And how many like rounds of like editing and proofreading? And it's
And it's like,
mistakes happen.
oh, Becky.
Right? And I kind of, you just have to laugh it off because
Yeah.
like it happens, right? And like, and kind of like, well, here's proof that AI didn't write this. Like this
Yeah.
was a human.
That's so true. And then Spicy Fruit Salad says, hey, I got the one with the typo. That makes it special. But I'm sure Christy will cringe that it's on my shelf.
You just have to call them limited
The
edition.
limited
There
edition
you go.
version. It doesn't affect the way you say the word, it's
Yeah,
just missing
I
that.
did. So a friend of mine, she has Ellie Wagensveld. I love her, but so her book, Second Chance on Sunrise Ranch. So it's Sunrise Ranch, but on the back, on the blurb, it said, I think Sunset Ranch. And she didn't notice that for like months. And
Oh.
maybe, I don't know, how long has that book been out? Like almost a year? Like it was. And then one day her friend's like, by the way, this is the wrong name of the ranch. And it's just, because it's a word.
Right.
It's
I
almost right.
Yeah, almost right. Just like 12 hours apart. It's fine.
Yeah. You just have to laugh those things off because like it's going to happen. No
Cypher.
matter how many times you personally have read it and beta readers and arc readers
Yeah.
and editors and proofreaders and you've read it again, there's going to be some mistakes. There just will be.
And Cypher Rabbit says, note to self, be paranoid for typos on the cover. It's like,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah. And on
absolutely.
the back and on the inside.
On and on the everywhere.
There's there's an ongoing joke that like the best way to find typos is to publish it and then you'll find all the typos.
Well, see, what I started doing is live reading my work on stream, and as I'm reading it, like, and it's formatted in book, like it's ready,
Yeah.
as far as I know. But as I'm going through, I'm like, oh, do 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 do
That doesn't
do.
make sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that
So
actually is smart. I know people have also had, like, if they work in Word or something, get like Word or whatever they're using to
dictation.
dictate it to them, right?
Yes.
Like, I can't follow audio. I just can't pay attention. So it wouldn't work for me.
Hmm.
But I know quite a few people do that because it just, you hear it differently. Or if you read it in a different format. So, like, I will often, like, after I think it's done, I will upload my file to my Kindle and I'll read on that. And then you catch things. And then I'll order like a proof copy and I'll read like the paperback version. And then you catch things. And
Yeah.
like in whatever format, you just read it slightly different. So you find mistakes or things you want to change. And yeah, in different formats.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. And it does help, just like reading it aloud. So I'll read aloud to myself and be like, wait,
That does make sense.
that doesn't make sense. I think because reading aloud, you're actually required to read the word as opposed to when
Yeah.
you're just reading, you're kind of skimming.
Yeah, and you kind of make up the word, right? You're like,
Yeah.
your brain's like, I know what this word is.
I've only done like 5 drafts at least. Right?
Yeah.
So moving forward with you published your first book at 39.
Yep.
So what advice would you give to someone who feels like they're starting late?
Honestly, I don't think there is such thing.
Mm.
And I think for so long we've kind of viewed growing up and getting older as getting closer to being done, right? So like you can't start something. Do you know what I mean? Like the whole idea of like can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Mm-hmm.
But like why not?
Yeah.
Like and there's different phases of your life. And just because, I was almost 40, why is my life over? Right? Like I have kids, that doesn't mean my life is over. So I
Yeah.
think that if you have an idea, you have a passion, you have something that you want to try out, it's never too late. If you are physically and mentally capable of doing it, do it. Worst case
Yeah.
scenario, it doesn't work out like you planned, but you still tried. Like
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever too late to try something new.
Yeah.
Like
And
how boring would that be if you just stopped living?
right? And I
Right?
think we feel like we're constantly on this, like we have like this ticking clock. Like we're running out of
Hmm.
time to do all the things that we want to do, and that just feels intimidating. Cypher says, I'm 53 and think that I am not starting late. I am just getting started.
Yes, exactly.
Amen.
Like there is no starting late. And I think for so long, we as a society used to think, well, once you're like 30, there's this whole idea of like, oh, don't say you're 30. Like once you're 30, you're old. And like then you are old. Like
It's like,
nobody wanted to be 30. Like how nuts is that?
yeah,
I feel like I really became myself once I got like mid 30s and later.
yeah,
Like, like I kind of like that's when I really started to figure out who I am.
yeah.
Because before that, like, you're a kid and then I was in university and then starting at my job and then I had kids of my own and then I was in mom mode of young children. And
Hmm.
now it's like now I'm living for me.
Yeah.
Like I'm not living to go to school. I'm not living to have kids and take care of my kids. Like now it's my time.
I totally understand that that whole shift where I feel like when once you have a kid, it's like you go into mom mode and you almost lose yourself in it for a few
Yeah.
years, and then all
Yeah.
of a sudden they're able to like get out of bed on their own, and you don't need to watch them so closely, and you
Mhm.
suddenly feel like you have time to do things. And
Yeah.
um
Because and
yeah.
it is true, like you do kind of lose yourself because I don't know about you or any other parent out there, but for me, like I really was living for my kids. Like my job, my role in life was to care for my children and make sure that
They didn't
they were
die.
provided for. They had everything. They didn't die,
Yeah.
right? That they stayed alive.
Yeah.
And then once they got old enough, like my youngest is now 8. So, and I have 3. Like my oldest is almost 14. So like now we're at this stage where like they don't need me constantly.
Yeah.
Like I can be my own person again, which is amazing,
Yeah.
right? Like, and it's a whole new world. So I started this in my late 30s, but now that I'm 41, like I feel like I'm really just getting started with this whole phase of my life.
Wait a minute. You've published 5 books in
5
like
books in 2
2
years.
years.
Yeah, it's been
Wow.
intense.
So you just like abandoned your family completely.
Yes, yes, I did. Yeah.
That's amazing. No, it's funny because I will be sitting on the couch and go, "Oh no." And then my husband will look at me and go, "What?" It's like, "I have a new story idea." He's like, "No."
Yeah,
It's like,
I
"I'll see you in a
did.
couple weeks."
Right. Well, and that's the thing. And then you just kind of focus on that. Like, this is my life now. This writing this
Yeah.
book and these characters, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I will see you later.
Yeah,
Like,
laundry is going to be on the back burner for a while.
no. Today, it's funny, like today, so I've taken a break between writing since I have, my next book coming out. I do have another project that I'm starting, but lately I'm just like, my brain's been overwhelmed with all the things. And so today, I did nothing. But by did nothing, I mean like I did like 3 loads of laundry and I did the dishes right away and I vacuumed right away. And then like by noon, I was like, I'm bored. Like there's nothing to do because I've been so used to just go, go, go
Yeah.
with this book, like just so focused on writing and doing. And marketing. And that today I took a break and it felt so good to like not be in that nonstop mindset today.
Yep.
And like I feel refreshed. I was like,
Taking
you
like
know
a
what? I
brain
needed this.
vacation.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like apparently doing laundry
Yeah.
was what I needed to do. I mean, I don't really want to do laundry, but it's what I needed to do.
Nice. Okay, so let's get into the book.
Okay.
Book. So you described your books as hot Hallmark,
Yes.
which is a very fun vibe. Can you tell us what that means and how it sets the tone for your stories?
So when I say hot Hallmark, I just mean that, you know, when you watch a Hallmark movie and they're
Yes.
really cozy and they're low angst, and you know for a fact that everybody's going to end up super happy. And that's a given when you read romance anyway. You know there's going to be a happily ever after.
Yeah.
But like you just it's all nice. Like and there's not this huge conflict usually, and even if there is, it's not that big. It's a slight misunderstanding. That's what my books are. But unlike Hallmark,
Yeah.
they're spicy. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of on page open doorness going on. And so like they're funny, they're low angst, they're cozy, but they're spicy.
But they also bang. So
But yes, they make you happy and then they make you happy.
And so I will admit I was able to grab one of your audiobooks from
Oh
Audible.
yay.
Just Friends with the Prince. I just
Yeah.
kind of grabbed the first one, and
Yeah. Well,
so
that's the only one on Audible right now. I'm
okay,
working on improving the second one.
nice. And so I love your style for one.
Thank you.
It's very like very much how I like to read my books, and I appreciate the 30 somethings. I also love the
Yeah.
banter, and
Thank you.
that it goes unnoticed. Like they're bantering, and then it just moves on, and you're like, wait, that was actually really funny, or like. And then there was this part in the story where Harper is looking at the buffalo plaid blanket and gets homesick for Canada. And she says, it's fine, I'll just pretend like I'm sitting on a lumberjack. And Tate says,
And he's like,
now
what?
I'm
What?
jealous of a blanket. And that's the sort of humor and banter that I love. And that's the kind of, I don't know about any of your other books, but that's what you can expect from that one.
Yeah, that it pretty much is consistent throughout the series. I mean, I
Nice.
think that's just because that's how I am.
Yeah.
Like you know, like that's just kind of my style, like really kind of quick things just going on and just like if you miss it, you miss it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And I found there were like, um, it was almost like I've never heard this before. I'm making it up or I'm not making it up. It was almost like mom jokes. Like just like these kind of like
Okay.
cheesy cheesy mom
Yep.
comments. But like
You know what? I could, I like that vibe. Yep.
yeah. Macy Pa says, I love Becky's book covers.
Oh, thank you. I love them too. I like to pet them. Not gonna lie. I do. I just kind of like just
Oh, there
pet
it is
them.
right there.
Yeah,
Oh.
oh, but let's just do this.
And I love how they all
It's hard to
match the
hold.
watercolors. Oh, that's the best. Being able to hold a bundle of your own books.
It's amazing, is what it is. Like it's a little overwhelming, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like not in a bad way, but just like I made these. Like
Yeah.
I made these. Like look at these.
I'm looking at them. Oh, that's amazing. I'm jealous, but at the same time I'm also like that's my goal is to get there and I'm working towards that goal, so I'm just excited to
Yeah.
get there, I guess. Um a mom of 3, she's used to holding a lot of babies. That's what
She's
Macy
kind
Pa
of getting
says.
your
um okay, so Tan, she says, I didn't want to be labored by the what and local government. Okay, I don't think that has anything to do with this, so we're just gonna move on.
All right.
So um so you said you didn't start writing until you were 38, 39. So what sparked the shift? Like what brought your like your pen to paper, I guess.
So my official answer will be that I've always just had stories in my head that I assumed was normal that apparently is not normal. So I would just kind of always make up stories, just create characters or scenes or whatever in my head and let it play out. I would think about it, and in my head they'd be bantering and they'd be talking, and then it would just kind of disappear.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently that's not typical. Not everybody does that. Who knew? Um, and then one day I just thought I couldn't get this one scene out of my head. And I thought, what if I wrote it down? What if I wrote this down just to get it out because I couldn't stop thinking about it? So I did. And then I thought, okay, but like, how'd they get there? So then I wrote more around it. I was like, okay, but like, who are these people?
Yeah.
So then I started writing from the beginning. And then before I knew it, I had like 20,000 words and an actual book forming.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I said to my husband, I was like, what if I wrote a book? He's like, yep, you should do that. So I did it.
Nice.
And
So
yeah, and that's
like did you write, was this whole process like in your later years, or was this like earlier and then life
no,
happened?
this that was just Friends with Prince. Like
Wow.
that was the first book that I ever wrote was just Friends with the Prince.
That's
And the
crazy.
first like that scene that I thought of was their first kiss. And it changed a bit
I
to what
love the
actually
first
ended up in the
kiss.
book. So do I.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't get this kind of scene of these people in the kitchen. And originally they were supposed to be cooking and they were chopping things. And that changed a little bit with the story.
Hmm.
But I couldn't stop thinking about it. So
Yeah.
I wrote that down. And
Yeah.
then that became the first book.
And I think it's just like crazy because I've been writing for a long time, but never thought like, oh, I could write a book. Like I always just wrote little stories when I was a teenager, but to have these thoughts in your head, um, like as an adult, and
Hmm.
be like, and just have it dawn on you, like, wait, oh, I'm a writer. Like
Yeah.
that's like crazy. It just I don't know. I'm really happy for you, I guess. Is what I'm
Oh,
saying.
thank you.
I'm really happy that you found out that you're a writer and you just like embraced that. That's really cool.
I honestly didn't expect it. And I didn't really think anything of it. I thought I was just gonna get this written out to be able to forget it. Honestly, that was my plan. Um, and the real answer of why I started writing was because I was bored.
Yeah.
Like that's, I mean, like everything else is true too, right? Like, I had this idea in my head that I couldn't get out. And I think it was why then is because all my kids were in school. I didn't have anyone at home. I wasn't ready to go back to work because I had been a stay-at-home mom. So after when I had my first, so she's almost 14 now,
Mhm.
I decided to stay home with the kids. And it was amazing and I loved it. And I didn't want to go back. And so I was like, okay, but what could I do? And
Mhm.
I was bored. And then this scene just wouldn't leave my head. So I kind of almost feel like writing in a way found me. Like I don't believe in fate. I don't believe in none of that, but it really does feel like the story was like, oh, we talked about how like characters are in your head telling you what to do. Like I
Mhm.
really do feel like those characters were like, okay, now's the time.
Yeah.
Now is the time we had this story in here. Are you ready?
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, this is the time that I'm going to do it. So let's start writing.
That's really cool. And like I absolutely believe in whimsy, but I also believe in science. And it almost feels like there was a
Yeah.
point where your brain just was like had to just unlock something,
Yeah.
right?
And I think because all like the kids were all in school
Yeah.
and I suddenly had time. Because before that, never in my life have I had time that was purely for me.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. I do.
before, like I was a kid and then I was in school and university and college and then I was working and then I had kids. Like any of like the me time, like downtime, I was exhausted, right? Like
Yeah.
from doing school and work and kids. And so it wasn't time. I had no brain power. Commend. I personally I would not have been able to write on top of having a full-time job, even a part-time job, and or while having young children.
Yeah.
It wouldn't work. I feel like I would have been way too overwhelmed
Yeah.
and it it wouldn't have been the time for me. But because I suddenly found myself with time, my brain's like, okay, so now we can do this. Like
Yes.
now you're able to focus on this.
New level unlocked.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so the fifth book, the fifth and final book in your Just Love
Yes.
series just came out, or is coming out, sorry,
Yeah.
on June 19th in 2 days. So what
Yes,
can
Thursday.
readers expect from this final installment?
So the final one wasn't supposed to exist. The final one was supposed to be the
And
fourth
neither
book.
is the sixth one.
No, we're done. Probably. Probably. Yes, we're done. But it wasn't supposed to be a book. So the main characters are Gavin and Jonah. So it is a male-male book. The other ones are male-female. And their story I kind of wove into the third and fourth books. So when you're reading books 3 and 4, you see them in the background, and
Mhm,
like you kind of sort of see their relationship happen in the background.
mhm.
And then when I was done the fourth book, Gavin's like, okay, but you know what? I am a drama queen, and I would really like to like have my own book.
I have more to say.
That's literally what he did. He was just jumping in front of my face, and if you read my books and you find out who Gavin is, you will understand this. He was jumping in front of my face, going, me, 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 me.
Yeah.
And he wanted his own book. So this is their story. It's male, male. Um, Jonah is it's his coming out story. And it's really a story of finding somebody who supports you no matter what, who is there by your side, helping you figure out who you are, what you need and want for yourself out of your own life.
Mhm.
And Gavin is just there with Jonah by his side, supporting him, never pushing him, just kind of doing everything on his own pace. So it's love in its purest form,
Yeah.
really, to be
Yeah.
super cheesy.
No, I totally understand because like that's what romance novels should be. I'm not talking
Yeah,
about smutty novels. I'm talking about like romance love where
yeah,
there's emotion and the person that you want as a love interest as a writer, what you want in a love interest is not someone who's going to fix that person or solve their
yeah.
problems, but you want them there to just support
Stand
or
by them. Yeah,
like in mine it's more like they get a different perspective you know, on life or on a situation. And
yeah.
so yes, I really appreciate it's not just like two people meeting and smushing faces, which as much as I love that, it's more than that. It's more emotion.
It is. It's the falling in love. I think
Yeah.
that's what I love to write. Like I like writing all the other scenes, but I think it's really like the small details of falling in love. Like
Yes.
the little glances, the the little hand holds and the touches and like just those little like, oh, you know how I take my coffee? Like
Yeah.
those moments, just those little tiny sparks. I really like writing those. Like those for
Yeah.
me, that's falling in love.
Yes.
Like having somebody that like appreciates you and somebody that's there to like support you and like help you, that would do anything for you. And it's
Yes.
those little moments of like, oh, this person really understands this other one. Like it's those moments.
And
So
TJ
yeah.
says, do you have moments where you envision a scene and feel, oh, I have to write that? I have to write that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
And it
think as discovery
usually
writers, that's usually how it starts.
it is
Yeah.
because a lot of times like so usually when I write a book, I have an idea of what I want to happen. I know the major tropes. I kind of have an idea of how it's going to start and how it's going to end, but it's all the middle stuff. And so
Yeah.
sometimes just a scene will pop into my head and it's like, that is perfect. Don't know where that's going, but it's going to go in there somewhere.
Yeah.
So usually I write really linearly. So I write from start to finish and not much changes, after it's written. But every once in a while, like a scene will just pop into my head and be like, oh, this is perfect. This joke, this banter, this way they're or where they're going or what, this action. And it's perfect, but it's not the perfect moment. So I'll go into like a separate notes app, I'll jot it down real quickly, and then I go back. to the original story.
Yeah. Nope.
But yeah.
I definitely understand that. The more you talk about the way you write and where things come from, it's like we're like almost the same person at this point.
Are we best friends now?
Do we just become best friends? Cypher says, here's a fun question. I love to ask other writers. How do you define story? No dictionaries or Googling. How do you define story? That's a really hard one.
It is. I think it's just things that happen. Like, I think at its like most basic core, a story is just something that happens. So like for me, like I like my stories to feel like you're just walking beside the characters in their lives. So like I like the quiet moments. I like the little details. I like kind of the boring times of they're just sitting on the couch together. It's
Mm-hmm.
just things that happen in their lives. And yes, like you need that storyline of they meet, they, find out they like each other, they fall in love, they are in love at the end. But it's the real story for me is the parts in between, like
Mm-hmm.
how that love unfolds, all the little things that's going on, and how the other characters, so like the side characters, are playing a part in that. So it's really at its core, it's just their lives, like just things that happen in their lives. And I know that's kind of probably sounds like a non-answer.
No, I get it. So, how I'm kind of thinking of it is just getting into the perspective of a different person and seeing things from their lens, I
Yeah,
guess. Like, or being a fly on the wall and just not necessarily seeing those big dramatic moments, but just seeing all of the little ones in between as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's just their lives.
Yeah.
And I know like they're these fictional characters that don't really exist, but like they totally exist in my mind. And like
And
there's
they procure emotions, and that I think is
yeah,
the most important part, is that the whole point of our writing is to create some form of emotion, hopefully not
yes.
boredom.
Hopefully
But
not. I mean, that's usually the goal is that people are not bored while they're reading it.
yeah. And what would do where is that question? Oh, what order should your books be read in? Like, should they be read book starting at book one, or is there like a chaotic order to mix things up?
I mean, technically you should start book one. Like you should read them in order. Just because they are interconnected. So if you start book two, you're going to miss how Tate and Harper got together. You'll miss some inside jokes.
Oh, I see.
That said, I've had readers read them completely out of order and be totally fine.
Yeah, I can picture reading, book five first and then going back to book four and be like, oh, there's little cameos of them in.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I find so like I do drop little Easter eggs
Mm-hmm.
in the books,
Love that.
and some of them were intentional and some of them were a surprise. And then some of them while I was writing like book four or five, I'm like, hey, remember that time this happened in book two? Well, guess what? That
Yeah.
was for a reason.
Yeah,
I
nice.
totally knew about that. Um, but I think I did just have an ARC reader who read the fifth book. She has read the other books, and she was one of them that had read them completely out of order. Like I think she read book two, book four, book one, and
Oh,
then book
wow.
five. She said that she feels like you could read them in any order, but with book five, because I had written their story, I like interwove it in books three and four.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't read those like books three and four first, you won't necessarily miss out anything, but because there are scenes in book five that happen from books three and four, like it's just kind of like a flipped perspective because it's now
Yeah.
from Gavin or Jonah's perspective. Um, if you read books three or four first, and when you read book five, you're like, oh wait, I know what this part is.
Right.
But again, if you didn't read books three or four first, you wouldn't you wouldn't necessarily know. And then when you do go back to read book four, then just the flip happens. Like, wait a minute, I
Yeah.
remember this happening.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a long-winded answer or a long-winded way to say technically you should read them in order, but
Yeah.
you don't have to.
So as I said, I've read book one.
Yeah.
So you said Harper and Tate are in book two, but are they woven into the whole series, or are they just in book two and then it moves on to?
Um, Less and less. So because book one, it happens, so it takes place in Sova. So Sova is this fictional European country that I made up because Tate told me that he was a prince. So he suddenly needed a country. And it happened in Europe.
Yeah.
Um, so books 2 to 5 take place in Ontario. So book in book two, they do travel back to Sova for
Nice.
for a reason. I don't want to spoil this, for a very fun romantic reason. And then you kind of like you see those characters again. And then you see them like a few times, like some phone calls, or like they come and they like Tate and Harper will come and visit at the end of book three. Like they're there for like the epilogue. So
Mm-hmm.
you see them a little bit, but then by the time you get to book five, because books 2 to 4 are Harper's cousins,
Okay.
but book five is just their friend. Like Gavin is not related to them. He's just their friend.
Okay.
So
Cool.
Harper and Tate, I think they're mentioned once or twice in the book as just because Gavin knows who they are, right? Like they're not really brought up.
Yeah. Cool. That's good to know. All right. So, we should be wrapping up. So I have one more question. So you're active on Instagram and
Mm-hmm.
Threads.
Yep.
Um, and I found you on TikTok too, but you didn't mention that
Yeah.
one. Yeah. I know.
I
I'm
do
like,
have, you know what? I have TikTok and I often forget I have TikTok. And
yeah,
then every once in a while I'm like, wait a minute, I have TikTok. I should post.
I'm totally the same way. So I get it.
I also like I have Facebook, but I don't often post on Facebook. So like
Yeah.
things will just automatically post on Facebook when I post on Instagram.
Right.
But I'm not super active over there.
No, I'm not
Mostly
either.
on Instagram.
Yeah. And what kind of content do you love sharing with your audience? And how do you like to connect with the readers?
I mostly share just like I like to share just random quotes from my books and just thoughts. Especially like if there's a line that I really like and I feel like people will resonate. I like to share that. I also like to share like spicy scenes to maybe try to like entice people because
Does that work?
that's thought it can, yes. Yeah,
Nice.
because sometimes like people will kind of like get just like a few lines from the scene. They're like, wait, what happens next? Like
Don't
I need
stop
to know.
now.
Like, why don't come back? Yeah, so it's almost like I tease them a little bit. It does work. Um, as far as readers, you know what? And I love when readers just message me. Like I love those readers, and I know there's a lot of readers and even authors, and we're like, well, I don't want to bother them, and I don't want to be the weirdo. No, please be the weirdo.
Oh,
Like
be the weirdo.
we are weird. Please accept that.
Yeah.
Please message me. Just send me a message, and just say hi. And like I will literally squeal in delight when I have a reader message me saying, I just read your book and I loved it.
Yeah.
Like that makes my work. Like I love it.
Oh, I agree. I think a lot of people are afraid to reach out to an author, maybe intimidated, but especially us indie authors, please contact us. It'll be
I
great.
guarantee you we are not intimidating. We are super low-key weird people. And we just love being loved like
Yeah,
that.
we do. And only good feedback, please.
Yes. I mean, please don't tag me any negative reviews. You
Okay.
can have them. I mean, your review is your own, but please don't tag me in that.
Yeah, exactly.
Only happy thoughts.
Only happy thoughts. And I did notice on your Instagram, I don't know how often you do it, but you had this or that. You have a this or that kind of thing going on.
Yeah.
And I totally stole it for these interviews. At first, it was just going to be
Perfect.
for you. And I set it all up. And then I was like, no, what? No, I'm going to put this for everybody. And everyone's
They're
going to have something
super
different.
fun.
Yes, they are.
I
So I
kind of
have,
I've slowed down a bit just because the release of this book has kind of taken over and I've been
oh, yeah.
super busy, but I do try to do them. I was doing them like every day and it's so fun because like people that I wouldn't have otherwise necessarily talk to are reaching out, and they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I chose this, and I can't choose." That's my favorite. I get those a lot. Like, I can't choose.
Don't make me.
I get a lot of those, and I
Okay.
love it.
Well, I'm gonna give you a quick this or that, and
Oh, geez.
there might be a
Okay.
lot of I can't choose, but we're gonna try it. Um, okay, so the first one is tea or coffee.
Tea. I
Um,
don't like coffee.
and
Only tea.
I kind of got that from your book.
A lot of my characters drink tea. I do
Yeah.
throw a few coffee drinkers in there, but yeah,
I did
it's
get
tea.
know what, and I'm totally veering off from this game already, but I did notice that like um I felt like I got to know Becky a bit in
That's fair. Yep.
in that novel. Just there was a lot of like personal details put into Harper, and I was like, I wonder if this is Becky. And
Probably is. Like, let's be honest.
because I'm like, this is probably her first book, and like people tend with D&D, like Dungeons and Dragons, a lot of people put
Yeah.
a lot of themselves into their first characters. So I'm like, I wonder if this is the same thing where it's like Harper is pretty much Becky, just like to get everything out there. But yeah, so I did
Yeah.
notice the tea thing, so I'm like, I'm gonna put this in here just to see.
Yeah. It's just tea over here.
All right, so the next one is spicy banter or slow burn.
Spicy banter. Thing. Yep.
Writing in silence or a playlist.
Oh, silence. I focus too much on the music if it's on.
Plotting every scene or winging it. I already know
I'm
this.
just winging it.
Yeah. Writing sessions in the morning or late at night.
Ah, uh,
Or is
neither.
it
I'm
like
not a morning
middle of the
person,
day?
and by the nighttime, my brain is done. So like that 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. is my time to shine. That is when the kids are gone and I have a brain and then I can focus. So yeah, late
Nice.
morning to early afternoon.
And my final one is book boyfriend. Cinnamon roll or morally gray.
If it's a romance, I like cinnamon roll. If it's like fantasy or romancy, then we want Morla Gray.
I'm thinking, why choose? But,
That's always an option.
um, Macy says, no, do we have to go? It's been so fun.
Oh, well, I'm glad you think so.
Yeah. Gosh, golly, we just arrived. I'm sorry you missed it, but I am going to be posting this interview on YouTube. And yes, and TJ says, why not both? Honestly, though. All right, so we need to wrap up for today. And it has been such a great interview. Thank you so much, Becky, for coming by and talking with me for a full hour.
Well, I'm glad you invited me. This was so much fun.
It was so much fun. And I hope to meet you in real life
Yes,
eventually. That would be awesome.
absolutely. One day that will happen.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Thank you so much for coming. I'm begrudgingly going to have to hang up. Because I feel like I could talk to you for another hour. But
Well, clearly we're gonna have to do this again.
yes,
Like,
absolutely.
that's the only answer.
Good luck on your book launch for your final book. That's so exciting.
Thank you.
And if there's any special links or anything, I do have your socials on the overlay here. So I have Instagram, Threads, and your website.
Perfect.
But if there's like an Amazon site you would want me to drop in the chat, I can do that after the interview and just send people straight over to Amazon.
Yeah,
Buy Becky's
yeah, I
books.
can give you. Please buy my books.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming, and we will talk soon.
All right, perfect.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.